Have you ever walked past a mirror and felt like the person staring back wasn't quite you? Like for a split second, their smile was a little too wide, their eyes a little too dark? We tell ourselves it's just a trick of the light, a flicker of our imagination. But what if it isn't? What if, in that fleeting moment, you're seeing something else entirely? Something that wants what you have. This is the story of Sarah, a young woman who learned that some reflections are more than just light and glass. It happened on a warm summer evening, the kind where the air is thick with the scent of popcorn and cotton candy, and the distant screams from the roller coaster are just part of the symphony of fun. Sarah and her friends, laughing and high on the thrill of the carnival, found themselves standing before the entrance to the mirror maze. A garish sign painted with clowns and swirling patterns promised a world of dizzying delight and optical illusions. It looked like harmless fun, a silly way to kill 10 minutes. They had no idea that for Sarah, those 10 minutes would stretch into an eternity. With a final, cheerful wave to her friends who decided to wait outside, Sarah stepped through the velvet curtain and into the labyrinth of glass. The transition was instant. The cheerful sounds of the carnival were muffled, replaced by a disorienting silence, broken only by the soft scuff of her own sneakers on the floor. Everywhere she looked, she saw herself. A dozen Sarahs, then 100, then 1,000, stretching into an infinite crystalline corridor. At first, it was exhilarating. She laughed, waving at her army of reflections. She spun in a circle, watching a kaleidoscope of her own face twirl around her. It was exactly the kind of disorienting fun she'd expected. She put her hands out, feeling her way through the maze, her palms leaving faint smudges on the cool, unyielding surfaces. Left, right, another left. Each turn brought a new wave of her own image, a sea of familiar faces. It was easy to get lost, but that was the point, wasn't it? She tried to retrace her steps, thinking she'd been in long enough. But the path she thought she'd taken led to a dead end. Just another wall of mirrors, another legion of Sarahs staring back at her with the same hint of confusion she felt. A small knot of unease began to tighten in her stomach. The endless reflections were starting to feel less like a funhouse trick and more like a cage. The silence was heavier now, more oppressive. That's when she noticed it. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, deep within the rows of her reflections. One of them hesitated. While all the other Sarahs moved in perfect synchrony with her, this one's head turned a fraction of a second too late. She stopped, holding her breath, and stared. She tilted her head to the left. All her reflections copied her instantly. All except that one. It remained perfectly still, its eyes locked on her. A cold dread, sharp and sudden, pierced through the carnival-induced haze. This wasn't a trick of the light. This was wrong. She took a cautious step back, and this time, the reflection took a deliberate step forward, breaking from the pack. It was closer now, only a few layers of glass away. Its expression was no longer her own. The cheerful curiosity was gone, replaced by a predatory stillness. Its smile wasn't a smile. It was a baring of teeth, a cruel, knowing smirk that didn't reach its eyes. Those eyes, they were flat, dark pools of ancient hunger. "Who are you?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling in the dead air. The question was absorbed by the glass, swallowed by the silence. The rogue reflection didn't answer. It just watched her, its head tilted in a mockery of her earlier gesture. Panic set in. Sarah turned and ran. She didn't care about finding the exit anymore. She just needed to get away from that thing. She scrambled through the mirrored hallways, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. But every corner she turned, she saw it. It was always there, somewhere in the crowd of her own face, getting closer with each frantic step she took. It wasn't running. It was stalking her, moving with a calm, terrifying purpose through the endless glass. Her own panicked face was everywhere, a repeating motif of terror. But among them, its face was a stark contrast of chilling calm. It was her face, yet it was utterly alien. She could hear something now, a faint, dry whisper slithering through the air. It sounded like sand scraping against glass. "Lost," it hissed, the sound seeming to come from all directions at once. "Lost. Forever." Sarah screamed, a raw, desperate sound that didn't seem to travel further than her own ears. She pushed blindly against the panels, her hands searching for a seam, a door, anything that felt different. Just when she thought the maze would swallow her whole, her hand met not cold glass, but the rough texture of a velvet curtain. The exit. With a final, desperate shove, she burst out of the maze, tumbling back into the vibrant, noisy world of the carnival. She fell to her knees, gasping for air, the sense of fried dough and sugar a welcome assault on her senses. The cacophony of the fair was the most beautiful sound she had ever heard. Her friends rushed over, their faces a mixture of concern and amusement. "Whoa, Sarah? You okay?" her friend Mike asked, helping her up. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "More than a ghost," Sarah stammered, her body still trembling uncontrollably. She looked back at the garish entrance to the mirror maze, her heart still pounding with primal fear. There was something in there, something that looked like me, but it wasn't me. It was following me. Her friends exchanged skeptical glances. "Sarah, it's a mirror maze," Jessica said gently. "It's supposed to be confusing. You probably just freaked yourself out." "No, you don't understand," Sarah insisted, her voice rising with hysteria. "It was real. It was talking to me." They tried to calm her down, assuring her it was just an illusion. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of those cold, dead eyes on her. To prove to them, and perhaps to herself, that she was safe, that she had escaped, she turned back to look at the exit she'd just come through. And that's when her world shattered. Her friends followed her gaze, and their laughter died in their throats. Their faces went pale. Mike's hand, which had been resting on her shoulder, dropped away as if he'd been burned. Inside the maze, just beyond the exit curtain, stood Sarah, or rather, a perfect copy of her. It was standing there, behind the last pane of glass, waving desperately. Its face was a mask of pure terror, its mouth open in a silent scream. It was banging its fists against the invisible wall, its eyes pleading with them for help. Sarah stared, her blood turning to ice. Her friends were staring, not at her, but past her, at the girl trapped inside. Slowly, as if in a nightmare, Sarah looked down at her own hands. They felt solid. She was breathing. She was outside. But the girl in the maze, that was her too. That was the real Sarah, the one who had been running, the one who had been screaming. Then who? What was she? She looked back at her friends. Their faces were etched with confusion and horror as they looked at the frantic girl in the maze. They didn't see her. They looked right through her. A dry, sandy whisper echoed in her mind. The same one from the maze. But this time, it was coming from inside her. Lost. Forever. She turned her head one last time to look into the maze. The frantic, terrified version of her was still pounding on the glass, her face streaked with tears. And behind that trapped girl, deeper in the maze, another figure was slowly emerging from the reflections. It was her body, her true body, but it was empty. It moved with a slow, aimless drift, its head lolling to one side, its eyes vacant. It wandered deeper into the infinite corridor of mirrors, a puppet with its strings cut, forever lost in the labyrinth of glass. And out here, in the real world, the thing wearing her face, the thing that had stalked her and stolen her life, gave a small, subtle smile. A smile that didn't reach its eyes, the carnival light seemed to dim as it took its first steps into a world that was no longer hers. So the next time you look in a mirror, look closely. Watch for that flicker, that hesitation, and pray that the person looking back is really you. Because some mazes aren't made of glass and wood, and from some, there is no escape. Thank you for watching. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the dark. Stay safe out there.